Welcome to another episode of Ask Dr. John, a father and daughter conversation series about my dad, Dr. John F. Leake's book, American Change Agent, A Life and Legacy of Seeking Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion. Today, we're talking about International Underground Railroad Month, which is celebrated in the month of September. But before we jump into the conversation, let me check in with Dr. John. How are you, Dr. John?
Oh, I'm fine. It's such a lovely day, and the weather is almost perfect. It's just a little bit into 80 degrees, and so it's been very nice. And been an enjoyable day. Good afternoon to everyone.
All right, we got the weather update from Dr. John. So now we can move into our discussion. So, everybody, International Underground Railroad Month was established by the state of Maryland in 2019. In 2020, the state of Michigan, which I'm from, and the state of Maryland and several other states joined together to make this a larger event where we could pay homage and celebrate and educate ourselves about the importance of the Underground Railroad's role in the eradication of slavery. Now, during this month, we are given an opportunity to think about the various people that played roles in making sure that people like the Leake family, our ancestors from Hagerstown, Maryland, making sure that they had a way made for them through their travels to Canada. And I'm starting to get emotional about this. And it every time I think about it, I have a deep sense of gratitude for the abolitionists and for others that came before our freedom seeking relatives, our ancestors, that made a way for them, from the indigenous people to other people of African descent that paved the road for them to be able to make it to Amherst, Canada safely. And so today, I wanted to ask you, Jay, and that's what I call my dad. I have different names. I wanted to ask you, what went through your mind when you learned that your great great grandparents, Peter and Catherine Leake, and their 14 children, including your great grandfather, Leonard Leake, used the Underground Railroad to escape slavery in Hagerstown, Maryland?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, like you were saying, you get a little emotional about thinking about the extraordinary effort that they went through. I mean, I can't hardly even imagine the what they experienced for a family of 16 to leave where they were in Hagerstown and to embark on this this journey that was going to take them to freedom. And the fact that they had to uh, uh, undergo uh, the different means of travel. I mean, a lot of it was walking miles, um, being on steamships, being in carriages for a period of time. But just the thought of going through a number of many of our states, particularly Midwestern states, until they got into Canada, um, and the help that they received, the people who put them up in their cellars sometimes, and led them. And of course, we know a lot about um, the conductor.
Hmm.
Harriet Tubman and all of what she did. But just to think about that, makes me uh, exceedingly proud. And it says to me that they established the notion that you can do anything because they did. So yes, it was extraordinary.
It
I
was.
stop and wonder, could I have done that? I don't think so.
Yeah, it really, when you think about it, because one of the ways that we know some of the information about our Leek family's journey is we were able to read through ancestry.com a obituary of my great great grandfather, my father's great grandfather, Leonard Leeke. And in his obituary, that was published in the Lansing State Journal in 1927, all of this information from when they left to what kind of job he had when he arrived. He was about 14 when he arrived. He was born in 1825, so that puts it around 1839, 40, 41. We're estimating. And his family worked as farmers, and he worked in a tobacco uh, company. I don't know if they considered it a company, but he worked in tobacco. And so with the help of the census records from Canada, we were able to determine the names of Peter and Catherine Leeke. They are my father's great great grandparents, my great 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 grandparents. Peter Leeke was born in 1799, and Catherine Leeke was born in 1811. Both of them were both born in Maryland. And then, with the help of museums like the Amherstburg Freedom Museum, we were able to identify one of Leonard Leake's brothers, Isaac Leeke, through one of their exhibitions that is online. And he married into one of the big Black families at that time. And so his children's names were listed, and then their children's names were listed. So we were able to get even more information. But it was with Ancestry.com that we were able to identify this information. And through the help of our cousin Ellen Cook, who is our family's genealogist, if you
Oh,
will, for all sides of the family. She's from my mother's side of the family, the Garten side, and this is something that she blessed us with, this information, and then we were able to take it a step further. One of the things that we know from just general research about the Underground Railroad is that the Quakers and the AME, the African Methodist Episcopalian churches, played critical roles in supporting those freedom seekers like our family in making that leap from the South to Canada and to other places. We also know that September was selected by the state of Maryland because two of the most important freedom seekers of African descent, Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman, they both escaped slavery in September. So that is one of the reasons why we honor our ancestors and all those that made it possible for us to have this legacy. And as my dad was saying, it reminds us that if they can do that, especially nowadays, without getting very political, I know I'm always seeking inspiration and motivation to keep moving forward. And one of the things that I struggle with a lot these days is, how do we keep moving forward given what is happening in the United States and in other places? And I think about my ancestors before they made it to these shores, and those that did make it to these shores and made it possible for us to be here, sharing their stories, writing a book, American Change Agent, available on IngramSpark, Amazon, and Barnes and Noble. We always have to do a plug. You can go to AnandaLeeke.com/Dr. John to get more information. But when I think about their sacrifices, I get energized, and I can look at whatever I'm feeling or whatever I'm thinking. If I'm feeling defeated because I see news reports, whatever it is, I know that I have a higher calling and that I can do my part.
And let me just say that uh, in in my writing about my life, uh, and of course, we're talking a lot about the very first part of the book, which talks about uh, our ancestors. Yeah. And and Ananda was just saying that we are living right now in some difficult times because a lot of the things that our ancestors did and fought for, and so many other people have fought for uh, freedom and for a democracy where that we have the opportunity to be in many ways whatever we want to be, and that's really being threatened now. But I think if you read my book and you read my life, you will see how at least I have fought over my 60 years career to challenge uh, the institution of racism and to try to move toward maintaining a democracy that we have, which allows us to be able to hopefully uh, have greater inclusion and equality, and certainly fight for diversity, which is really being challenged every day. And we cannot allow all of that work that's been done by not only our family, but the thousands of families who have contributed in some way uh, to our democracy. So, with that, that's another little plug to get the book, read about one man's life and his efforts to make a difference.
I want to also give some resources for those who want to know more about International Underground Railroad Month. If you go to www.visitmaryland.org and you search International Underground Railroad Month, you'll get more information about what the state of Maryland is doing. You'll also get to see information about Harriet Tubman, Frederick Douglass, and so many others. Um, I also want to encourage you, if you are in the state of Maryland, to visit the various African American history museums, including the Reginald Lewis Museum in Baltimore. Um, they have one of the best African American history exhibits about the state of Maryland and our contributions to the state of Maryland. I also want to give a shout out to a beautiful museum, the Dolman, Doleman, Black Heritage Museum in Hagerstown, Maryland, which is where our ancestors escaped from. Check them out. There's so many other museums in the state of Maryland that you can learn about You can also go to the National Museum of African American History and Culture here in DC. If you are in other places in the country, check out the Black History Museums. Check out the historically Black colleges and universities. They all have some form of exhibit, gallery, or museum. I know at Spelman they have a museum. Most of them have, Hampton University has a museum. All of them have history. If it's not a museum, they might have it in their libraries, but check them out and support our Black history museums, the large ones, the small ones, and the in-between ones, and our HBCUs. This is where our history is. This is where our ancestors were able to make a way right after slavery. Many of many of many of whom were able to attend colleges at these institutions. So with that, I am going to encourage you, if you'd like to know more about the book, American Change Agent, A Life and Legacy of Seeking Diversity, Equality, and Inclusion, go to anandaleeke.com/Dr. John to get more information. You'll see information about upcoming events. Be sure to sign up for the newsletter. We do send it out periodically. We won't blast you so that you'll know what we're doing. And make sure that you watch the other videos in this series. We have many others, and there'll be more. So thanks again for tuning in. Anything you want to say, Jay, before we say goodbye?
No, just have a wonderful day.